Across the immense plains of the African savanna, silence rarely means peace. Beneath the relentless sun, the tall grasses sway gently. Yet every subtle movement carries a warning. As a coalition of lions advances with calculated stealth toward a formidable herd of Cape buffalo, a quiet question lingers in the heat of the air. Is this still a place of refuge, or has it already become a battlefield? In this unforgiving landscape, even the smallest step can ignite a confrontation. Lions move like patient tacticians, studying the terrain and searching for the faintest sign of vulnerability. The buffalo, powerful walls of muscle crowned with sweeping horns, stand their ground with unyielding resolve. As predator and herd face one another, tension thickens the air. There is no room for hesitation and no opportunity for mistakes. On the African savanna, survival is earned through strength, instinct, and decisions made in the blink of an eye. A single moment of misjudgment can bring down a mighty hunter or cost the herd one of its own. When cunning predators meet the united force of these massive grazers, the outcome remains uncertain. Will the calculated strategy of the lions prevail, or will the fierce unity of the dark giants reshape the balance of the wild? As the first light of dawn spreads across the vast and dry plains of Africa, a dark and powerful presence moves steadily across the horizon. It is not a shadow drifting through the morning haze, but a herd of Cape buffalo advancing together. Their massive curved horns give them a commanding presence, making them one of the most formidable groups in the natural world. The African buffalo Synchorus Kaffir is a large herbivore of remarkable strength. An adult male can approach a weight of nearly a ton. Its body is protected by thick skin and sparse hair that ranges from dark gray to deep black, resembling a rugged armor shaped by millions of years of evolution. Yet the most intimidating feature for any predator lies at the top of its head. The horns of the Cape buffalo are not only long and sweeping, they meet at the center of the skull, forming a dense bony shield known as the boss. This solid structure acts as a natural defense capable of absorbing powerful impacts and even lifting an attacker weighing several hundred kilograms. For this reason, the herd is often compared to living horns of steel, a symbol of the defensive strength that emerges from unity. Unlike many other hoofed animals, Cape buffalo maintain an exceptionally tight social structure. They live in herds that may range from a few dozen individuals to several hundred. But even such a living fortress cannot escape the constant tension of the wild. Hidden within the tall grass, golden shapes remain motionless, blending perfectly with the landscape. A group of lionesses watches in silence, studying every movement of the herd they have been following with patient focus. Suddenly, the wind shifts, carrying the scent of the buffalo across the dry air. One individual slows and drifts slightly away from the group. For a brief moment, vulnerability appears. The signal is unmistakable. Without a roar or warning, powerful bodies burst from the grass, sprinting forward with explosive speed. In seconds, the distance collapses. Yet confronted by the herd's unity and formidable defense, the lionesses are forced to abandon the attempt. The retreat happens quietly, but the outcome is clear. As the savanna gradually moves deeper into the dry season, the Cape buffalo continue their journey across the open land. They are not hunters yet. Their presence is a reminder that survival in the wild does not depend only on claws or fangs, but often on the strength of collective defense. When danger fades even briefly, the rhythm of the herd shifts toward the next stage of the natural cycle. The breeding season begins. Within the herd, adult males become increasingly aggressive. They challenge one another in displays of raw strength, lowering their heads, locking horns, and pushing with all their weight to overpower a rival. These confrontations rarely end in death, but they are enough to establish dominance and determine which males will earn the chance to mate with the females. After mating, the females carry their calves through a long gestation period that lasts close to a full year. With the arrival of the next rainy season, the young are born and carefully protected within the heart of the herd. Across the African savanna, life continues with patience and resilience, guided by an ancient rhythm that has endured for thousands of years. And even as the horns of steel gradually fade into the drifting clouds of dust, the story of the savanna moves forward, endless and untamed. In another region of the savanna, where the low grass stretches endlessly toward the horizon, a new day begins for another remarkable family of the African ecosystem. This is the realm of the African wild dogs. Known scientifically as Lycaon pictus, this species does not survive alone. Its true strength lies in the pack, an intricate social unit governed by cooperation and a highly organized structure. Each individual carries a uniquely patterned coat of mottled colors. No two patterns are identical, forming natural markings that act like fingerprints, allowing pack members to recognize one another even during the chaos of a hunt. The pack is rarely still. These predators are built for life on the open plains, relying entirely on speed, stamina, and flawless coordination. Unlike lions, which often depend on stealth and sudden ambush, African wild dogs pursue their prey across long distances, gradually wearing them down through relentless endurance. Every hunt becomes a powerful display of teamwork. Within the pack's social order, only one dominant pair is allowed to breed. The remaining members suppress their own reproductive instincts, dedicating their efforts to the strength and survival of the group. When the pups are born, the entire pack shares responsibility for their care. Adult hunters return from the plains and feed the young by regurgitating food, an uncommon behavior among carnivores. Yet despite this remarkable cooperation, life for African wild dogs is far from peaceful in the vast and demanding world of the savanna. Across the savanna, constant vigilance is essential. African wild dogs must remain alert to the presence of hyenas, their long-standing rivals. Hyenas are physically stronger and often appear in greater numbers, frequently attempting to steal freshly captured prey. Encounters between these two species are common, filled with tension, and neither side gives ground easily. Despite the constant dangers, the wild dog family continues its relentless journey. Hunting across the plains, moving from one territory to another and safeguarding the next generation. In a landscape where survival is tested every single day, their greatest advantage remains the unity of the pack. In such an unforgiving environment, true power does not come from a single animal. It emerges from complete cooperation, where the strength of the group becomes the very foundation of survival. From across the open plains comes a sound that is impossible to mistake, a rough, unsettling laugh that cuts through the stillness of the savanna. It signals the presence of one of Africa's most successful predators. The spotted hyena, Crocuta, lives in large clans governed by surprisingly complex social systems. Unlike many other carnivores, their society is dominated by females. They are larger, more assertive, and control both access to food and the right to reproduce. Within the clan, every individual understands its exact position in the hierarchy. Far from being simple scavengers, spotted hyenas are highly capable hunters, able to bring down antelope, zebras, and even young or weakened Cape buffalo. Their extraordinarily powerful jaws allow them to crush bones and consume nearly every part of a carcass. This efficiency often places them in direct conflict with other predators. They frequently steal kills from cheetahs, challenge lions, and regularly confront African wild dogs, their major competitors across the savanna. Their effectiveness grows even greater after sunset, when they become especially active under the cover of darkness. Within the African ecosystem, hyenas perform a vital role. By consuming remains and clearing carcasses, they help recycle life back into the land. Although they are often portrayed as villains of the wild, they are essential to maintaining the natural balance. In a landscape where death is never far away, hyenas endure as some of the most resilient survivors, not because of appearance alone, but through remarkable adaptation and the disciplined strength of their clan society. As the dry season advances, the Alliance of Cape Buffalo, often called the Horns of Steel, has little choice but to keep moving. Familiar watering holes have shrunk into scattered pools, and patches of green grass appear only in small, distant fragments across the plains. The herd's pace slows, its formation stretches out, and fatigue becomes visible in every heavy step. In this unforgiving savanna movement, always carries risk. This time, the watchers are in no hurry. Near one of the last remaining water sources, another pride of lions lies in wait. It is a place where prey must eventually arrive. Hidden in the shade, they remain perfectly still, patient and focused, waiting for the precise moment. When the Horns of Steel enter the critical zone, the herd's structure begins to loosen. One buffalo, weakened by the long journey, starts to fall slightly behind. The gap is small, but on the savanna, even the smallest separation can be decisive. The attack unfolds with sudden force as lions surge forward from multiple directions. The chase ends quickly. This time, fortune does not favor the buffalo. The herd pauses briefly in complete silence. There are no ceremonies, no lingering farewells. On the African savanna, life allows little time for mourning. The rest of the herd turns and continues its march, leaving death behind as an unavoidable part of an ancient journey. For For the lions, it is the reward for patience, precision, and the discipline of a carefully planned hunt. In the distance, the ground begins to tremble with slow, rhythmic vibrations. A herd of African elephants is approaching. The African elephant, Loxodonta africana, is the gentle giant of the continent. These massive animals travel in close family groups led by the oldest female, the matriarch guardian of the herd's collective memory. She carries knowledge of ancient pathways, hidden water sources, and safe territories, wisdom passed down through generations. In a landscape that is constantly changing, this memory is essential for survival. Elephant herds maintain remarkably strong social bonds. The calves remain protected at the center of the group, surrounded by attentive adults. When danger threatens, the elephants quickly form a defensive circle, their tusks facing outward toward the threat. Few predators are capable of challenging such a powerful barrier. For most of the day, however, elephants focus on feeding. A single adult may consume hundreds of kilograms of vegetation every day. By pushing over trees, breaking shrubs, and digging into the earth in search of water, elephants reshape the landscape in natural ways. The watering holes they uncover or create often become critical lifelines for many other species during the dry season. Even the paths they carve through dense vegetation gradually become routes used by countless animals across the savanna. During the harshest months of drought, their influence becomes even more evident. Elephants function as true engineers of the ecosystem. By opening spaces in wooded areas, they help prevent the savanna from turning entirely into forest, maintaining the delicate balance between grassland and trees wherever they roam. Through their presence, many forms of life find the chance to endure. As evening approaches, the herd pauses near a low-lying area where water still remains. They coat themselves in cooling mud and stand quietly together. In the vast African savanna where countless hunts unfold and losses are inevitable, elephants remain enduring symbols of memory, unity, and the lasting strength of the natural world. Beneath the murky, seemingly tranquil waters, massive shapes rest almost motionless. A group of African hippos lies submerged in the shallow edges of a river. The cool water helps them endure the intense heat and shields their thick, sensitive skin from the harsh midday sun. Only their eyes, ears, and nostrils rise above the surface, quietly observing everything that unfolds around them. Despite their slow and heavy appearance, hippos maintain strict control over their territory. Each stretch of river or isolated pool is dominated by a powerful male. He patrols, constantly displaying his immense size and opening his enormous jaws as a warning. Armed with long, tusk-like teeth and extraordinary biting strength, hippos rank among the most dangerous animals in Africa during daylight hours. Direct confrontations are not frequent. Most of the time, individuals settle disputes with subtle pushes beneath the water, quietly defining boundaries and maintaining distance. Calves swim close beside their mothers, and when the water deepens or danger is sensed, they climb onto their backs. The entire group remains largely still, conserving energy for the long hours of activity that come after sunset. Occasionally, an unfamiliar male drifts too close to the edge of the territory. The dominant bull responds with a deep roar released beneath the water, sending ripples across the surface. The message is unmistakable. The territory is already claimed. Under the blazing midday sun, the hippos remain nearly motionless, blending into the quiet landscape of the river. The scene appears calm, yet beneath the stillness lies constant tension shaped by power and territorial defense on the African savanna. Even the most peaceful moments conceal a force ready to emerge. Today, the struggle for survival across the savanna continues, though the context is gradually changing. The ancient rhythms of nature, predation, migration, reproduction, and competition are no longer influenced only by rain or drought, but increasingly by the growing presence of human activity. Dawn on the African savanna does not signal peace. It marks the first warning of a new day. As sunlight spreads across the cracked earth, every creature begins another race against time where survival is measured with every breath. Through the grassland still veiled in a thin morning mist, a sleek figure moves with careful precision. It is the cheetah Acinonyx jubatus, the fastest land mammal on Earth. Its long, aerodynamic body, deep chest, slender legs, and non-retractable claws form the perfect design for speed. In only a few seconds, it can exceed 100 kilometers per hour, an acceleration powerful enough to overtake nearly any unsuspecting antelope. But today, the hunt is not for itself alone. This mother hunts for her young. Beneath the quiet shade of an acacia bush, 3 cheetah cubs rest, barely 3 months old. Their spotted coats are only beginning to take shape. For them, each day presents a challenge not only to survive, but to learn the skills that will one day make them hunters. The mother never strays far from the den. In a single morning, she must locate prey, bring it down, and return before the sun climbs high into the sky, before hyenas, lions, or even large birds of prey detect the vulnerable cubs. Suddenly, the wind shifts and she freezes instantly. Ahead of her, a herd of Thompson's gazelles grazes peacefully, still unaware of the danger nearby. The cheetah lowers her body, advancing with steps as light as drifting air. Her ears remain alert, her eyes fixed on a single target. A young gazelle that has wandered slightly away from the group. The moment arrives. From the tall grass, the mother launches forward like a living arrow. Dust rises into the air, a brief cry breaks the silence, and the chase is over within seconds. With careful vigilance, the mother lifts the prey and carries it back toward the den. her head raised and every sense alert to the faintest sound. Even the smallest movement could reveal her presence, signaling that a hyena has caught the scent. But today, the savanna remains quiet. When she arrives, she lays the prey gently on the ground. The three cubs hurry forward, still clumsy as they attempt to bite and feed. Yet safety is never guaranteed. Even a single meal can vanish if a pack of hyenas discovers the trail. In the wild, where every sound may signal danger, speed is more than an advantage, it is a lifeline. And it is motherhood that transforms that speed into an unstoppable force. Far away in another corner of the savanna, the ground begins to tremble beneath the slow footsteps of gentle giants. Beneath the relentless sun of the African savanna. While many predators retreat to the shade, one silent figure continues to move through the landscape, leaving almost no trace. It is the leopard, the most solitary and mysterious of the great cats. High on the branch of an old acacia tree, a female leopard remains perfectly still. Her golden coat, patterned with dark rosettes, blends with the shifting light filtering through the leaves. This apparent calm hides a predator built for precision. Her body is compact and powerful, her limbs flexible and agile, and her sharp, retractable claws remain sheathed until the exact moment they are needed. Strong jaws and acute sense of smell. And above all, eyes capable of detecting the smallest movement even in low light, make her a quiet and formidable hunter. Unlike lions, which rely on the strength of the pride, or cheetahs, which depend on speed, the leopard survives through independence. Solitude is her strategy. Each female maintains her own territory, often spanning dozens of square kilometers. Within it, she hunts, rests, and raises her young without assistance. Not far away, hidden beneath a dense bush, lies her most precious responsibility, cubs only a few weeks old. Their tiny bodies' soft coats and barely formed spots reveal how completely they depend on their mother. With wide eyes, clumsy movements, and no hunting instincts yet developed, they are extremely vulnerable. During the first months of life, the cubs rarely leave the den. Each day, the mother departs to hunt, leaving them alone, silent and still. Their only protection is perfect camouflage and the certainty that she will return. On the savannah, even silence can mean the difference between life and death. When the sun reaches its highest point, the leopard senses that the moment has come. She descends from the tree, her flexible body slipping through the vegetation without disturbing a single leaf. Ahead, a herd of impalas grazes calmly. These antelope are swift and vigilant, capable of leaping nearly 10 meters in a single bound. When fleeing danger, their senses finely tuned to detect the slightest threat. Even the smallest mistake could ruin everything. The leopardess presses her body close to the ground. Her padded paws move forward without the slightest sound, each step carefully measured. She selects her target, a young impala that has drifted slightly away from the herd. The wind favors her approach and no alarm is raised. Then in a fraction of a second, she launches from the ground in a sudden burst of strength and precision. The impala reacts too late. It tries to flee, but the distance has already vanished. A powerful strike followed by a fatal bite to the throat ends the pursuit. The entire event unfolds in mere seconds. Without delay, the leopardess drags the prey toward a nearby tree and with her remarkable climbing ability lifts the carcass high into the branches far beyond the reach of hyenas or lions. From her elevated refuge, she feeds first and leaves the remaining meat secured above. Soon after, she returns to where her cubs are hidden. Before reaching them, she releases a soft, low call, part signal, part reassurance. One of the cubs emerges from the vegetation and clumsily rubs against her legs, still fragile but safe. Under the relentless sun of the savannah, the leopardess remains a master of silence. She moves like a living shadow across a harsh land. And beyond that, she is a resilient mother, guiding the next generation with skill, instinct, and unwavering dedication. Beneath the unforgiving sun of the African savanna, a lioness lies quietly in the shade of a bush. At her side, 3 tiny cubs curl close together, sleeping in rhythm with her steady breathing. They are only a few weeks old, fragile, so their eyes not yet fully open and completely dependent on their mother's protection. Although lions are the only great cats that live in social groups, a female often separates from the pride after giving birth. This temporary isolation is a vital strategy to protect her cubs from numerous dangers: hyenas, leopards, and even unfamiliar male lions. If a new male takes control of the pride, he may attempt to eliminate existing cubs to bring the females back into breeding condition. Faced with such threats, the lioness becomes a fierce defender, willing to confront even members of her own species to safeguard her young. Once the cubs grow stronger, the mother gradually leads them back to the pride. From that moment on, raising the young becomes a shared responsibility. The lionesses cooperate closely, nursing the cubs, guarding them, and taking turns keeping watch. It forms a powerful network of maternal care built on instinct and cooperation. A lioness is far more than a skilled hunter. She is also a guardian, a nurturer, and a teacher to the next generation of the wild. Within her lies strength, strategy, and an unbreakable determination that nothing in the savannah can easily overcome. And so another chapter closes in the relentless struggle for life on the African savanna. In this unforgiving land, there are no permanent champions. The hunter that walks with confidence today may become the prey tomorrow. A single stumble, a delayed reaction, or a brief moment of overconfidence can instantly reverse the roles. The savanna shows no mercy for mistakes. Every encounter leaves unseen scars across the landscape and lasting marks on those who survive. Here, strength without caution can become a fatal flaw. And courage without strategy may lead to defeat. Even the most feared predators learn that power is fragile and that survival is always uncertain. In this wild world, survival is never guaranteed. It is a constant test. A quiet lesson written in endurance and instinct, where every sunrise offers another chance. And every sunset reminds all who live here that on the African savanna, safety is never permanent. If you want to continue exploring these real stories of extreme survival, like the video, subscribe and join us on Beast Call Nature, where the natural world reveals its most raw, powerful, and unforgettable moments. Across every continent on Earth, wildlife moves according to the rhythm of vast migrations and silent struggles that determine which creatures will endure. These are not gentle journeys or predictable routes. They are demanding passages shaped by hunger, thirst, fatigue, and the ever-present shadow of danger. Entire herds travel for weeks, sometimes for months, guided by an ancient instinct carried through generations. They follow distant storms, fresh grasslands, and fragile water sources that can disappear without warning. Yet this story is not only about those who travel. The perspective shifts. The world is seen through the eyes of the predators, the silent watchers hidden in shadow. The hunters that judge distance with precision, read the wind with patience, and wait for the exact moment when weakness appears. For them, the movement of migration is not simply a spectacle of nature. It is a crucial chance to survive. Every river crossing can become a deadly challenge. Every open plain may transform into a hunting ground. While some animals move forward driven by the hope of survival, others depend on that same movement to avoid starvation. Their destinies become tightly connected in a balance as ancient as the wilderness itself. In the wild, migration is a constant struggle. And when these great journeys are viewed through the perspective of the hunter, a deeper truth of the natural world is revealed. In nature, one life often continues only because another has come to an end. At the edge of East Africa, where the savanna stretches almost endlessly toward the horizon, the land itself seems to move. The motion is anything but quiet. A constant thunder of hooves, drifting dust, and vast herds rolling forward fills the landscape. Here, migration does not follow narrow paths. It unfolds like a living tide sweeping across the plains. This is the largest land migration of mammals on Earth. Each year, more than 1 million wildebeest travel alongside hundreds of thousands of zebras and gazelles, covering roughly 800 to 1,000 kilometers in a nearly predictable cycle between the Serengeti Plains and the grasslands of the Masai Mara. The purpose is simple and unavoidable: fresh water and new grass. Yet the simplicity of the goal contrasts sharply with the harshness of the journey. Wildebeest do not follow a fixed road. Their route shifts with rainfall, wind patterns, and the changing condition of the land. The enormous herd behaves almost like a single living organism capable of reshaping the environment as it passes. Grasslands are grazed down. The soil becomes enriched with nutrients, and weeks later, the savanna grows back with renewed strength. The scale of the movement is so vast that it can even be seen from space. For months, the plains resemble a dark, pulsing carpet that never seems to rest. The ground trembles, the air thickens with dust, and every stride carries risk. Because this migration is not simply a march toward abundance, it is a chain of dangerous moments. Among all the challenges along the route, none is more decisive than the rivers. When the herd encounters a barrier of water, the forward surge slows and compresses. Thousands gather along the banks, pushing, hesitating, retreating, and advancing again. Fear spreads through the crowd like a wave, yet the pressure of animals behind allows no pause. Eventually, one leaps into the river, and within seconds, the rest follow. What was once a calm channel becomes a chaotic surge. Bodies collide, the current sweeps away the weaker animals, and many lose their footing within the first few meters. The crossing has no clear order. It becomes a powerful overflow of motion and confusion, and within that disorder, another ancient presence reveals itself. Beneath the dark surface of these African rivers live predators that do not need to chase the herds across the plains. They simply wait. Nile crocodiles are among the oldest hunters still ruling the planet. With slow metabolisms, remarkable patience, and a keen ability to read their surroundings, they have long learned that the wildebeest migration is a recurring event, predictable, concentrated, and unavoidable. For much of the year, the river offers few opportunities, but when the crossing season begins, the balance shifts dramatically. Within days, scarcity turns into sudden abundance. A crocodile does not pursue the fastest animal or challenge the strongest. Instead, it takes advantage of confusion, crowded water, and a single moment of miscalculation. The murky river limits vision, the force of the herd disrupts balance, and one slip can determine the fate of an animal weighing more than 200 kilograms. Yet the migration never stops. For every individual that falls, many others reach the opposite bank. The strategy is not to remove danger, but to spread the risk. The power of the migration lies in its sheer numbers, its persistence, and its unbroken momentum. Those that fail to cross do not disappear without purpose. Their bodies become food for crocodiles, fish, and birds, and they also nourish the river itself. Minerals and organic matter drift downstream for many kilometers, feeding life far beyond the original herd. As long as rains continue to renew the grass and rivers continue to interrupt the path, this cycle will repeat year after year, transforming movement into survival, and every crossing into an opportunity for those who know how to wait. When the great river crossings of the wildebeest finally subside, the landscape does not fall silent at once. The rivers gradually return to their calm flow. The dust settles over the plains, and the herd continues its long journey. Yet the passage leaves behind a scattered trace across the savanna, still bodies of animals that failed to overcome the current, collapsed from exhaustion, or simply lacked the strength to keep moving. At that moment, another kind of movement begins. Long before any scent can be detected from the ground, small dark shapes appear high in the sky. At first they seem insignificant, barely visible against the vast blue, but within minutes their numbers grow, circling slowly and drawing tighter loops above the plains. To a distant observer, it may look like coincidence. For vultures, it is precise information. These birds are specialists at locating death across enormous distances. Some species can detect a carcass from many kilometers away thanks to remarkably sharp eyesight and an ability to read the behavior of other birds already in flight. The descent of a single vulture often triggers a chain reaction, guiding dozens more toward the same place. During the Great Migrations, these gatherings can become extraordinary in scale. Around the body of a single wildebeest or antelope, dozens. Sometimes hundreds of vultures may assemble, forming a restless mass that constantly shifts and reorganizes. What appears chaotic is actually governed by a clear hierarchy. Larger species claim access first, while smaller ones wait at the edges, ready to slip into any opening that appears. The transformation happens with astonishing speed. A carcass that might normally take days to decay can be reduced to clean bones in less than half an hour. Muscles, organs, and soft tissue vanish almost entirely. Nothing is wasted, yet their role extends far beyond feeding. Vultures serve as the sanitation system of the savanna. By rapidly removing large amounts of decaying organic matter, they help prevent the spread of harmful bacteria, reduce potential sources of infection, and limit diseases that could threaten wildlife and even nearby human communities. Research in several regions has shown that when vulture populations decline sharply, diseases linked to unconsumed animal remains increase noticeably. At the same time, opportunistic scavengers, far less efficient at nature's cleanup, often expand in number. During the migrations, vultures do not follow the herds themselves. Instead, they follow the consequences. Where massive herds move, mistakes happen. Where mistakes occur, death appears, and where death gathers, vultures arrive. Their presence also sends signals across the landscape. Ground predators learn to scan the sky, and human herders do the same. A spiral of circling birds overhead often means that something has ended below. But within the logic of the natural world, it is not truly an ending. It is a transformation. Every consumed body returns nutrients to the soil. Calcium from bones, microscopic remnants, and fluids that seep into the ground all enrich the earth. Within weeks, the place where an animal fell may become a patch of greener, thicker vegetation, a future feeding ground for the next wave of travelers. In this way, vultures complete a cycle that began months earlier, when the first rains awakened the grasslands. They do not chase prey or defend vast territories. Instead, they wait patiently for the inevitable cost of migration and transform that ending into the beginning of new life. In Africa, great migrations unfold under scorching heat, swirling dust, and murky rivers. At the opposite end of the planet, however, movement is governed by a completely different force, cold. Across the vast Arctic and subarctic regions where the landscape appears frozen in time for much of the year, life also travels great distances. But here, the motion is not loud or chaotic. It is quiet, steady, and relentless. Caribou undertake some of the longest land migrations on Earth, with annual routes that can exceed 5,000 kilometers. Their journey crosses open tundra, boreal forests, frozen rivers, and windswept plains. Often there are no clear trails or landmarks to follow. Temperatures can plunge far below -40 degrees, turning the environment itself into a constant challenge. The drive behind this movement is not only the search for food, but the need to align their life cycle with an ecosystem that can change dramatically within a matter of weeks. During the brief Arctic summer, the herds move northward toward areas where vegetation bursts into growth under the nearly endless daylight. Insects may swarm in great numbers, but they pose a lesser threat than the scarcity of food elsewhere. It is here that calves are born, with most arrivals occurring within a remarkably short window of time. This synchronization is no accident. By giving birth almost simultaneously, the herd spreads the risk. Predators are present, but when thousands of calves enter the world at once, it becomes impossible to pursue them all. As winter begins to reclaim the land, the direction of travel reverses. The herds gradually head south in search of places where strong winds sweep the snow aside, revealing the lichens hidden beneath the frozen surface. These modest organisms, which offer little nutrition for most plant-eating animals, form the foundation of the caribou's winter diet and remain one of the few reliable resources during months of near-continuous darkness. Physically, the caribou is remarkably suited to life on the move. Its broad hooves function like natural snowshoes, spreading weight across soft snow in winter. During the warmer months, those same hooves harden, allowing easier travel over rocky ground. A coat made of hollow hairs traps heat efficiently, and the animal's metabolism can slow to conserve energy when food becomes scarce. Even with these advantages, the migration demands a heavy toll. Sudden blizzards, early thaws, rivers breaking open ahead of schedule, or thick ice. Sealing food beneath the ground can transform a familiar route into a harsh test of endurance. In some years, the most serious losses are not caused by hunters, but by the climate itself. Predators, when they appear, usually remain along the edges of the herd, watching for the injured, the young, or those that fall behind. Yet unlike many other migrations, the greatest threat here does not come with teeth or claws. It arrives from the sky, carried on the wind and measured in dropping temperature. The migration of the caribou is not defined by dramatic chases or constant attacks. Instead, it is a prolonged trial of resilience. It exists because the Arctic does not allow stillness. To remain in one place is to risk disappearing. Moving forward despite cold storms and uncertainty is the only path that offers a chance to survive. Along the edges of the Arctic, where the ocean presses against shifting sheets of sea ice, migration takes on a very different form. It does not unfold across endless routes or sweep through vast plains. Instead, movement becomes compressed and concentrated. Walruses travel seasonally with the advance and retreat of the sea ice, which serves as a floating platform where they can rest between long feeding sessions on the ocean floor. There they spend hours stirring the sediment with their whiskered snouts, searching for clams and other shellfish hidden in the mud. When the ice retreats too far or disappears entirely, these animals are forced to find alternatives. That is when massive gatherings begin along the coastline. In certain parts of the Arctic, tens of thousands of walruses crowd onto narrow beaches or rocky shores. Space becomes scarce, yet the need for rest is shared by all. Bodies weighing more than a ton press tightly together, forming immense living walls of thick skin-curved tusks and heavy layers of insulating fat. From a distance, such gatherings might appear peaceful, almost like a sanctuary. In reality, they represent a delicate balance. Walruses are highly social animals, and staying close together helps conserve warmth while offering a sense of safety. But that closeness also creates risk. A sudden movement can trigger a chain reaction of shoving bodies, and under such immense weight, the pressure can become overwhelming. Each shift within this crowd leaves visible marks on the shoreline. Sand becomes mixed with traces of dried blood, deep grooves carved by tusks and scars from earlier conflicts. The soundscape never truly fades. Deep grunts, the collision of heavy bodies, slow breathing, and the constant scraping of giants trying to share an area far too small. This migration is not measured by the distance traveled, but by the intensity of the gathering. Here, the challenge is not reaching the next destination, but simply finding a place to stop without being crushed by the mass around them. Where such a concentration of prey exists, watchful eyes are never far away. Polar bears patrol these gatherings with quiet persistence. Unlike their usual hunts for seals on the sea ice, they rely less on stealth here. Instead, they walk, observe, and study the crowd. Among thousands of similar shapes, their focus settles on subtle signs: a calf drifting away from the group, an exhausted individual, or a walrus poorly positioned near the edge. Often, the bear does not need to create chaos. The environment provides it. A sudden noise, an awkward shift in the herd, or a ripple of panic moving through the tightly packed mass can briefly open space. In those fleeting moments, the predator advances, sometimes threading through narrow gaps between enormous bodies that are themselves powerful and potentially dangerous. Even so, most walruses survive these encounters. The strength of the species lies not in speed or individual aggression, but in sheer numbers. Healthy adults form a nearly impenetrable barrier. Their long tusks, tools for hauling themselves onto ice, and also formidable defensive weapons, create a zone of caution that even a predator as powerful as a polar bear must approach carefully. Once again, the migratory phenomenon does not collapse under the pressure of predators. Instead, it adapts. The crowd absorbs its losses and continues, demonstrating that in these extreme environments, survival depends not only on individual strength, but on the collective ability to endure and reorganize. At the far reaches of the Southern Ocean, where relentless winds sweep across frozen waters and the cold shows little mercy, migration reveals yet another remarkable form. Here, the movement of life is not defined by long marches across plains or dramatic river crossings. Instead, it gathers in overwhelming numbers. On certain sub-Antarctic islands, entire shorelines cease to look like empty landscapes and begin to resemble living, breathing ecosystems. The bright white of snow disappears beneath vast layers of black silver and golden feathers. The ground becomes hidden beneath thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of king penguins packed together in dense colonies. From a distance, the shoreline seems to pulse with life. These gatherings are far more than temporary assemblies. They represent the center of a demanding and carefully timed migratory cycle that unfolds slowly over many months. Unlike most birds, the king penguin does not complete its breeding cycle within a single season. Instead, reproduction may stretch beyond an entire year. This unusual rhythm forces adults to travel repeatedly between the open ocean and the breeding colony. While one parent remains on land, carefully balancing the egg on its feet, beneath a protective fold of skin, the other heads out to sea, sometimes traveling hundreds of kilometers in search of food. These constant journeys create invisible highways through the surrounding ocean. Beneath the surface, king penguins dive to remarkable depths, often reaching more than 300 meters, where sunlight fades into darkness. Their bodies are built for such extreme conditions. Dense bones help reduce buoyancy. Their wings function as powerful flippers, and their blood carries oxygen with exceptional efficiency. Even their heart rate can slow during deep dives, allowing them to remain underwater for extended periods. Yet every trip into the ocean carries danger. When an adult returns, it brings enough nourishment to sustain its chick for several days. But before reaching the relative safety of the colony, it must cross the most exposed stretch of the journey, the narrow and uncertain boundary where ocean ice and land meet. In this shifting zone, protection disappears, and a single miscalculation can change the outcome of the entire voyage. Few natural events are as extraordinary as the migratory journey of salmon. Their story does not begin solely in rivers nor end entirely in the ocean. It begins with memory, a chemical imprint formed during the earliest stage of life when a tiny larva drifts through calm, freshwater streams. As the fish matures, this imprint becomes an internal guide, an invisible compass that leads it across vast stretches of open ocean and eventually directs it back with remarkable precision to the very river where it first began life. Some species travel more than 6,000 kilometers through the sea before starting their return. During these years in the ocean, salmon grow larger, stronger, and accumulate the energy reserves they will later depend on. Yet the most demanding challenge still lies ahead. When the instinct to reproduce becomes impossible to ignore, they leave the salt water behind and enter one of the most difficult migrations in the animal kingdom. Even the transition from saltwater to freshwater places enormous strain on the body. Within days, their internal systems must completely readjust. Organs adapt, their skin darkens, jaws reshape, and muscles reorganize, all while they push upstream against currents seemingly designed to block their passage. From that moment onward, they stop feeding. Every kilometer of progress consumes energy stored during years at sea. Each leap over waterfalls, each collision with rocks, and every effort to navigate obstacles drains reserves that will never be replenished. In many rivers, more than 70% of the fish never reach the spawning grounds. Yet the collective movement continues without pause. The migration rarely happens in isolation. Thousands, sometimes millions of salmon move upstream together through narrow channels, transforming the river into a restless living current. The water churns with motion, the flow becomes turbulent, and the riverbed vanishes beneath the density of bodies. This sudden concentration of life reshapes the environment itself. Rivers once poor in nutrients become centers of fertility. Nitrogen and phosphorus carried from the ocean nourish algae, insects, birds, and even the forests growing along the banks. The influence can extend far beyond the water's edge. Trees growing at considerable distances from the river may reach greater heights thanks to nutrients released as fish decompose along the ecosystem. Scientists have found chemical traces of this ocean-derived nourishment in soil many years after the migration has passed. Yet wherever life gathers in such abundance, it inevitably draws attention from opportunistic hunters. In certain stretches of the river, the terrain naturally narrows, shallow passages, tight rapids, and unavoidable waterfalls where the effort of the salmon becomes predictable. It is in these places that another strategy appears, that of the brown bear. Unlike predators that rely on long chases or carefully planned ambushes, bears often take advantage of something far simpler: reliable abundance. Over thousands of years, entire bear populations have synchronized their movements with the seasonal arrival of salmon. For them, this event is not occasional. It is a crucial part of their yearly survival. During the peak of the salmon run, a single bear may consume dozens of kilograms of fish in one day. This rich supply of protein and fat fuels daily activity and, more importantly, allows the bear to build the energy reserves needed to endure the long winter when hibernation slows its metabolism dramatically. Their behavior along the rivers is far from random. Bears prefer shallow water, natural waterfalls, and slower stretches where salmon must repeatedly leap upstream. By the time the fish reach these points, many are exhausted. Their reactions slowed after a relentless struggle against the current. With measured movements, the bear takes advantage of this moment, capturing fish that have nearly spent the energy accumulated during their entire life at sea. This relationship goes far beyond a simple interaction between predator and prey. It forms an essential link within the ecosystem. After feeding, bears often carry portions of their catch into nearby forests, leaving scattered remains across the ground. These fragments gradually become natural fertilizer, enriching plants, insects, and microorganisms far from the river itself. Scientific studies have even discovered traces of ocean-derived nutrients within the tissues of centuries-old trees growing deep in the forest. Evidence of generations of bears transporting marine energy onto land. In this way, the bear becomes more than a hunter. It acts as a powerful distributor of life's resources, carrying the richness of the ocean into the heart of the terrestrial world. When the paths of migration fade into the distance and the echoes of pursuit disappear into silence, one truth remains clear: wildlife exists in a balance sustained by struggle. Every movement of the herd and every careful calculation of a predator adds another chapter to an ancient story, one in which survival demands endurance, patience, and at times sacrifice. Seen through the perspective of the hunter, migration becomes more than simple movement across landscapes. It becomes destiny. For some animals, the journey offers hope and renewal. For others, it represents the single opportunity to remain alive. In this way, predator and prey are bound together by the same invisible thread that keeps the natural world in motion. Across the planet's most demanding environments, from scorching plains to rushing rivers and frozen mountains, the same truth persists. No victory lasts forever, and no loss marks the true end as long as life continues to move forward. In the wild, struggle is not a choice. It is simply the way life continues to exist. If this journey into the heart of the wild inspired you, consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Join us on Beast Call Nature, where every heartbeat, every watchful gaze, and every encounter reveals another layer of the natural world.